Huh. 1967 was the summer of love, and the earth was crawling with hippies. And yeah, we may scoff at these pacifistic stoners' ways now, but when you really look back on it, these guys had some great music. And to commemorate 1967's 50th anniversary, I'm going to be compiling a list of the 5 best albums to come out of that year. And maybe in a couple of years, we can do one of these celebrations of the Big 5-0 for my parents. 50 years of existence. At the number 5 spot, we have The Who Sell Out by The Who. And it's really silly to think about that this album is the predecessor to rock opera giants such as Quadrophenia and Tommy. Because this album is very silly. There's a bunch of random commercials all through of it. It's like pretty ridiculous, ludicrous at times. Kind of just a silly, goofy album. But all of this stuff just makes it more entertaining and fun to listen to. Also, it's really comforting knowing that as talented as The Who is, and as complicated and distinguished their more well-known stuff is, deep down, they'll always be the same The Who. Well, it's not like I listen to this album all the time, and it definitely doesn't top this list. But if you were to ask me what album perfectly encapsulates the whole feel of the summer of love, it'd definitely be Cream's Disraeli Gears. I mean, just look at the album cover at least. And then you listen to the music, double trip. I mean, album cover is all these swirly rainbows and stuff. That's like pure psychedelia. You listen to the music, even more psychedelic. And yeah, psychedelia isn't exactly topping any charts these days, but back then that had a huge impact, making that Cream's psychedelia goodness be one of the most influential music around. Come on, how can I not have a list of the late 60s without The Doors? And on their first album, The Doors, it introduces us to a new kind of trippy. They entered right into the hippie phase, and really, they couldn't have came in any better time. This album made them probably one of the best rock bands of all time, and definitely one of the best of the 60s. And The Doors, is probably one of the most influential psychedelia records of all time. I mean, all the good ones are here. Light My Fire, The End, Break On Through. I mean, just what could a peaceful stoner not like in this? And I don't have anything to dislike in this either. It's an excellent album, even for people who don't really like psychedelia. I mean, it's great, and really listening to this is like your ears are entering a whole new strange, trippy, organ-infested universe. It's just wonderful. The Doors broke so much new ground on their debut album, and I have to say it's probably one of the finest records of the entire 60s. If this was any other year, Are You Experienced by the Jimi Hendrix Experience would have definitely topped the list. But, I mean, it just so happens this amazing, groundbreaking record also happens to be made in the same year as the most influential record of all time. Man, tough luck, but this album's awesome. I mean, this album is just amazing. And, I mean, just like, the stuff this guy did, I can't even believe this is Jimi Hendrix's first album. I mean, think of all the awesome songs on here. Purple Haze, Manic Depression, The Wind Cries Mary, Foxy Lady, Fire. I mean, these are some awesome songs in the 60s. In like the late-ish 60s. Look at all the ground he broke. And this is their first album. First album. It's incredible. I mean, can you believe how many hippies we've just been listening to this? Oh yeah, man. It's just awesome. This album is great. All the new guitar techniques Master Hendrix introduced in this. It's just wonderful. Groundbreaking. Everyone should listen to it. Amazing record. Are you experienced? Well, it may have been their first album, but I'll say they have the experience. Great album. What else did you suspect to be number one? Really? And yeah, it might seem a little cliche to put Sgt. Pepper's at number one, but it really should be because it deserves it. This album, when it was released, it completely changed music. Its impact is immeasurable. Everything about it is iconic. Everything about it is influential. It has to be probably the greatest album of all time by probably the greatest band of all time. I mean, almost every single one of its songs is perfect. It made pop music grow up by like 10 feet. It just has so many awards, so many records, so many it's just impossible to say how influential and important this album is to music. It is the most important album of all time. It's not just the most important album of 1967. It's not just the most important album of its decade. It's not just the most important album of even its century. It's not just the most important album of its millennium. It's the most important album of all time. And I'm going to say that hands down, definitely. It's a bit overrated, but its influence stretches for miles. Well, guys, hope you liked my list. And just to stay tuned in for more, remember to like, subscribe, come make nice suggestions, and I'll be here next time. Bye, guys. Have a nice day.